As I mentioned yesterday, this virtual volunteer fair is backed by popular demand this fall from all of our volunteers who were requesting some virtual service projects during the hottest part of the months. And little did we know when we launched this that we'd be back into some difficult times in certain areas with COVID restrictions too again. So serving a double purpose with the virtual volunteer fair again this fall. Welcome again. And oh, yeah, the next slide. There we go. Thank you. Just a little bit of meeting etiquette for those of you who are joining us today, but were not able to attend yesterday. Our videos have been turned off aside from the people who will be presenting today. And that's by design. During these events, we sometimes have more than 1,000 to 2,000 people on. And so we're trying to keep the internet load down and your viewing focused in enjoyment for the virtual volunteer fair. You will notice that you're muted upon entry, and you shouldn't be able to unmute to ask. And so if you are able to ask, if you want to ask questions or have questions for each of the presenters, you can do so in the chat. We will moderate those at the breakpoints for the presenter. In the event some are not able to be answered during the meeting, the presenter may be able to pop in and answer some questions when they are done presenting. Other chat room etiquette, please use clear questions, no acronyms. And we ask that you please keep your questions on topic to the information being presented. When you want to send in a question, you go to the to box. You'll have to check the little down arrow and select everyone in that list of people that you see there. Everyone is kind of funny because sometimes it shows up in the middle and then sometimes it shows up at the end of the list. So just make sure you select the correct item of everyone in that selection. I mentioned, and I'll mention it again, please keep your questions on topic related to the presentation at the time. And then a reminder again that the event is being recorded. The agenda today will be fast-paced. There's 10-minute presentations for each of our presenters. And they'll have the entire 10 minutes for their presentation and questions all built into that 10 minutes. We will have a couple breaks today. And then, as I mentioned, again, we're recording the event, and the recording of the event will be available on our website either later today or by tomorrow morning. So those people who weren't able to attend the session live, you can watch that after the fact. There are several projects being presented today, and we realize that there may be people coming in and going all day long or all morning long for the event based on your interests in the projects being presented. And that's certainly welcome. What our presenters will be sharing, they'll give you an overview of the project and the description of the project, what the expectation and outcomes look like for their projects, some logistics, meeting times, days, things like that, whether or not there's any experience needed, equipment needed, and lastly, if there will be advanced training that is required to prepare you for further helping in their project. We want them to share what's in it for you, the benefits, how you will grow as a master naturalist and how you're contributing to conservation and science and the local conservation community through the project. And then lastly, the finer details of the project, such as location, contact information, times, days, etc. As always, with any of our information, our Master Naturalist program website is our go-to place for anything Master Naturalist. The information for today's virtual volunteer fair, which is our expanded agenda, the expanded program, and information about all the projects that have been presented or will be presented across these 2 days can be found on our website. And we have Naturalist news that is circled there. That is one place you can jump to, and be sure to look for the logo that you see in the top right-hand corner for the Virtual Volunteer Fair. That's this fall's logo for everything. And then Mary Pearl has just dropped the link there to the event about the Virtual Volunteer Fair in the chat too. So all things Volunteer Fair Virtual Volunteer Fair can be found on our website. Further information, I mentioned the full catalog is there on our website with all of the descriptions of the projects being presented, the contacts for the presenters or the project leads. And we actually, everything's being presented today. We don't have any that are in the project list that haven't been able to present. We do have one correction to our agenda today. At the 10 a.m. to 10:10 a.m. That What's New on the Prairie, that project has been struck from the event today. So there's been some project changes there that necessitated taking that project off of the list for today or for now. How do you get set up to volunteer after today's event or during today's event? We have a survey that when there are projects that you are interested in assisting with, you will fill out the survey for each project that you're interested in. We will be dropping the link for the survey after each project's presentation. So you can add your name then, or you can add your name anytime all at once to any of the projects. We will keep that survey open through September 15th. After that, the project coordinators, so the people presenting the projects today will be contacting you or letting you know further instructions about the project schedule and how to get involved, and their steps forward to getting you working on the project after that. Please note that typically we have up to 1,000 or a couple hundred to 1,000 people attending the Virtual Volunteer Fair at any given time. So just note that there may be many more volunteers register for a project than what the project can hold. So just be aware of that as we move forward with the event. How do you log hours today? We won't go over the specifics about logging hours for this event entirely today, but we do have the information on our website for how to log time to this event. If you are watching today's event or watch it recorded later, you can record up to a quarter hour of service for watching the event, up to for each session, each piece of the event that you watch. So up to the maximum time for the event today would be up to 2 hours.
1 minute, Michelle.
Okay. And then again, we won't thoroughly cover how to report hours for each project that you do volunteer on or end up volunteering on, but that's covered in our VMS quick guide regarding the Virtual Volunteer Fair, and you can find that on our website, and we'll be dropping that in the chat as well. Just a reminder, our agenda, we did have the one project strike that we have today. So we will have just another break, a 10-minute break at that time, which you can grab a cup of coffee, take a comfort break, and then come back for our last presenter of the day and the conclusion and wrap up. And then lastly, if you have any other questions that we haven't been able to cover, you can always contact our project team, Virtual Volunteer Fair project team of Judith, myself, or Mary Pearl. Email us and we can help you out. And with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Judith, and Judith will get us started with
Okay,
our
good
first,
morning, everybody.
as our MC.
Thank you. And good morning, everybody. I'm glad everybody can be here with us. Our first speaker is going to be Teri Hendrick with Katy Conservancy. And he has multiple projects this morning. And keep in mind that his projects will cover 5 different chapters, and those will be posted in the chat. So make sure that if you're volunteering with him, that you're one of those chapter members. And his first talk will be about Katy Prairie Conservancy's Great Grow Out Volunteer Project. So go ahead, Teri, if you will. You should have host rights and upload your presentation.
I'm not seeing that I can share my screen quite yet. Let's see.
It's coming your way.
All right, there we go.
Okay, it looks like it's coming on. And if you'll just put it in the PowerPoint mode, I still can see your slides on the left. There we go, ready to go.
Go. All right, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Judith, for that little introduction. My name is, let me just skip forward just a hair here. Here we go. So my name is Teri Hendrick, and I joined the Katy Prairie Conservancy in May of 2021 as their Marketing and Development Associate. I would say that I'm still a little bit new to the land conservation scene. Just a little bit about me, as you'll hear, I have 4 different presentations. And so I wanted to just do a little introduction. Sort of my connection and my love of natural lands began on my parents' small cattle ranch in Brazoria, Texas. That's where, sort of that connection was built. I am an avid trail runner and a budding nature photographer, emphasis on the budding part for sure. So the first presentation that I have for you guys this morning is to be a great grow out volunteer. This is a distance service-based project. And I do say that it's place-based just because at the conclusion of this project, we ask that you're able to drop off some plants at our office in Waller, Texas. And so, you want to be closer. So this program helps KPC grow over 10,000 plants annually that we use both on our preserves and then also, throughout the region. And what we love is that this program empowers volunteers, to grow natives right in your own home safely. And you can do that as part of a civic group or maybe a neighborhood group, or even within your own family. We've heard funny stories of different families trying to see who has the greenest thumb, and so you have a lot of different options about how to make this this volunteer opportunity yours. And it's really simple. Our volunteers are mailed packets of locally collected prairie seeds, and then we just ask you to grow them, in your own home in pots. Once they're mature, the plants are returned to our field office in Waller. Like I said, that's about an hour west of Houston, and then our staff and more permanent volunteers are going to nurture them until they're ready to be put into the ground. And then we also like to say, we like to have 75% of the seedlings that germinate. We ask that those be returned, but you can keep any of those remaining ones for yourself because we'd love to, start a love of native plants for you as well. And then, just to your comfort level, seed packing parties and seed collecting field trips are important parts of the program. They have not returned yet, just as we still sort of try to navigate COVID, but when they do return, we'll advertise them, and that's certainly something that you can become involved in as well. So the project expectations and outcomes, really, we're looking that you enjoy nurturing your seedlings, right? That is success to us. These plants support our prairie ecosystems and native wildlife for years to come, all thanks to this sort of small volunteer time that you're dedicating. And so it makes a really, really big impact, and we are so very grateful. Skip here. Okay, so logistics, sort of how does it work? We welcome as many volunteers as would like to help. If you are interested, right, you'll put your name down in the SurveyMonkey, and then I'm going to send out a larger email, and with that, it'll direct you to our interest form, and that'll kind of determine your eligibility and your interest level. From then, we're going to mail you the seed packet, and they can be grown wherever is most convenient in your home, and according to whatever schedule you're working on, right? As we know, it might require just a few hours throughout the week of watering and just maintaining them, but that can, of course, be sort of tailored to whatever time frame that you're working on. And then as we hold our annual planting event in November, that's called Putting Down Roots, we just ask that our plants are returned sort of late October or very early November, just that we, have some time to organize everything on the ground before that big event. Okay, so experience, equipment, that kind of thing, while in absolutely no way necessary, having some previous planting experience might be helpful when you are trying to grow these, but like I said, you don't need that at all. And you'll just want to make sure that you have enough pots and enough space for the plants that you are going to grow. One package of our seeds is going to require about 18 to 20 4-inch pots. And so that, obviously will take up some space. And so you'll just want to be mindful of that. Little things, some gardening gloves, those will definitely come in handy. And then I love this. This is a great tip. You can absolutely get creative with your planters. We had a Great Grow Out volunteer recently drop off his plants in, as you can see in the photo, recycled Whataburger cups. And so you don't necessarily need to go out and buy a bunch of different things. You can really be resourceful and use what you have. And so I love that about this program as well. And, there's no advanced training, just sort of, as I said. And so the benefits for you, right? This is a really important part of this program. What we love is that it enables you to have a direct impact on our ability to restore Katy Prairie, across our protected lands and throughout the greater Houston area. I know that Texas Master Naturalists work really, really hard to educate the public about our natural lands and how important they are. And so you all are really uniquely positioned to support the work of us, really, a small conservation organization. And in short, we need your help. And so by participating in this program, you are allowing us to restore more prairie and ensure these lands are protected for generations to come so that they can enjoy. All right, I guess I'll open it up to questions, and then here's my contact information if you need to reach me directly. And like I said, if you do express interest through the SurveyMonkey, I'll be sending out, a little bit more of an exhaustive email. All right.
Thank you so much, Teri.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to see if there's any questions. I don't see any yet. So again, if you have any questions for Teri, then please type them in the chat. How do I sign up to volunteer? And that's something that, oh, Mary Pearl just posted that. Sorry about that. It is in the chat as well. So those of you that are wondering how to sign up for this particular project, it's posted there with the link.
I had a question, Teri.
Mm-hmm.
Am I allowed to keep any of the plants that I grow out? If I grow out 100, can I keep 1 or 2?
Oh, absolutely. So we do just ask that a majority of the plants that do germinate are returned to us, but we actually encourage that you do keep some. So of course.
And that's another, oh, go ahead.
I have another question.
Mhm.
Will you remove me from your list and your life if I kill all of the plants?
Sometimes it happens. And so we're not going to hold that against you. And, actually sort of something that's important to know going into this project, because these are naturally collected seeds, they're not going to have as high of a germination rate as, a seed packet that you would buy at the store. And so let's say that you do have a catastrophic failure. I know that might happen to me. I do not have a green thumb at all. But let's say that does happen to you. It's not going to be like you just killed a big packet from the store, right? So that's just important to be mindful of.
And then soil, is it best to use native or potting soil?
Either or. I think I've heard success from both. If you have native soil that sort of that's native to this region around the Houston area, it could definitely be helpful. But these native seeds will grow in potting mix.
When person has shady conditions, do you think that the plants will grow in shady conditions?
Sure. So if you are interested, when I send out the interest page, we have different seed packets available, and so you can sort of see if that different plant suits shady areas or sunny areas. So you can make that determination for yourself.
And are the seed packets one species within that one packet, or are they multiple species?
They are one. Yes.
And how many seedlings are you planning on growing, or what? I don't know if that's, or how many seedlings will we be growing? I guess how many species maybe?
Right. So you can choose one different species, and then, it's the hope that maybe 18 to 20, 25 maybe will germinate in full.
Okay, I think that's oh, how long do you anticipate we keep this project at our home?
I would say 2 weeks to a month. And then, like I said, maybe by the time we get to late October or very early November, or even earlier, if you're ready, and you don't have any more space, you can definitely come by and drop them off in Waller.
So they bring them as soon as something pops up, or would you rather they kind of mature, hold on to them until they mature a little bit?
Just mature just a little bit. They're a little bit more stable when they arrive.
All right. Well,
And
Teri, so thank you.
One more question. Is Waller the only drop-off location?
Waller is the only drop-off location just because it's the only facility that we have that can support them.
Okay, awesome. All right, Teri, we are with Teri Hendrick this morning with Katy Prairie Conservancy, and his next presentation will be on a project where he's looking for a writer for species of greatest conservation need newsletter articles. So with that, go ahead and start sharing your screen, Teri, and we'll get rolling.
All right. All right, well, good morning, everyone, and to anyone joining us now. My name is Teri Hendrick, and I'm Marketing and Development Associate at the Katy Prairie Conservancy, and that's in the greater Houston area. So for this project, we are looking for a writer for species of greatest conservation need newsletter articles. If you're not familiar, the species of greatest conservation need is a list the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department puts out. So we are looking to improve awareness of some of those species that exist on KPC lands through these newsletter articles, right? And so each article that we're looking for will cover just one specific species and include educational information about its importance to our environment and our region, interesting or little known facts, and then what the individual can do to support the species conservation and that individual that's reading it. So, with this volunteer effort of a Texas Master Naturalist, these articles are intended to raise the profile of these species and to encourage public support for wildlife conservation. And so at KPC, we think that we have a really great opportunity to support these species with our monthly readership hovering around 5,000 people. So the project expectations and outcomes. So to complement the length of our existing newsletter, we ask that the volunteer prepare a 3 to 4 paragraph article for each of the 12 species that have been observed on our KPC lands. And so you can see those below. These articles should be submitted via email as a Microsoft Word document, just so that we can sort of jump in there and add them into our newsletter platform. And we ask that these be returned in the 3rd week of the month, just to allow us to prepare the newsletter's content in a timely manner and make sure that we have that kind of time. And so some of the different species that are on the list that we have also seen on our lands, right? These are the western spotted skunk, the northern bobwhite, eastern meadowlark. These are some of the species that a lot of you are familiar with. So the logistics, we're looking for one volunteer just to maintain the continuity of tone or voice in the newsletter article, just so that it sort of carries throughout. And this is going to be 100% virtual. So this is not place-based. This is something that you can do wherever you are across the state. The time commitment, this can definitely vary based on your experience or your skill set, but I think it would be safe to say this could take 3 to 4 hours per article. We are looking to have 12 articles to use throughout the entire year. And we have those 12 species, and they can be completed one by one, right? So that's kind of month to month, maybe in batches or just all at once, depending on what works best for your schedule, right? So maybe all at once is a little bit too large of a time commitment at once, but you can sort of stretch them out. However, it works best for you. We really are flexible on that. As far as equipment or experience, we really just look that you have reliable computers that you can research and write. That's going to be pretty important, but there really is no advanced training required. And then the benefits for you, right? So this is an interesting project because our newsletter audience is already highly involved in conservation and wildlife habitat restoration, but they may not necessarily know about these specific species. And so with these informal articles, we think that our community of supporters are really primed to get out there and advocate for the species, just as long as they have the right information. You know, I know that for Texas Master Naturalists, educating that public is very, very important. And so this is a great opportunity to do just that, right? Ultimately, the hope is that these articles are going to translate into greater levels of public support and legislative advocacy on behalf of the species on this list. And by supporting this project, you know, a volunteer that's a Texas Master Naturalist is likely to strengthen their research and writing skills as they prepare these articles for the Katy Prairie Conservancy. All right, that one was a quick one for sure. So I'll just open it up to any questions that anybody has.
All right. Thank you for that, Teri. Let's see. So we choose the species we want to write about, or we write about all 12 is the question from Linda.
So we ask that you'll write all 12. You can do that in any order that you choose, but just we picked those 12 because we have observed them on KPC lands.
I think what you may be asking is, and I apologize, how many volunteers were you looking for this project?
Sorry, just one. Sorry if I didn't
Just
make it clear.
Okay, so you do just want one person to write everything. Okay, you couldn't have 2 writers who might each pick 6 potentially?
I mean, yeah, I would definitely be open to that, right?
Okay, as long as one person led on the flavor of the newsletter and kept that consistent is what
I
you're
like the
looking
flavor. That's a good way to put it.
All right, let's see. I don't see any other questions at this point.
Okay.
But to keep on time, just in case someone's coming in for one of your other projects, we will wait until 9:30 to begin. If you do have any questions, please put your questions in the chat so that we can read it, since you will not be able to unmute and ask your questions personally if you're coming in a little bit late this morning. And Teri Hendrix with the Katy Prairie Conservancy is our speaker today. I apologize, Teri Hendrick, not Hendrix.
Thank you. No worries. It happens all the time. I get confused with the rock singer. That's with the X. The combinations.
Since we do have a little bit of time, I think there was one question from the previous project that
Back.
so the question was, how many packets would an individual be receiving? How many seed packets would an individual be receiving if they participated in the first project that you mentioned?
Yeah. So if somebody has never participated in the Great Grow Out program before, we limit it to 2 just to sort of, you know, keep that initial expectation limited, and you know, it's not going to get overwhelming. So you can choose, you know, 1 or 2 kind of coming in.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We've got about 1.5 minutes before we get started. So if you wanted to actually bring up your screen, we can go ahead and do that. And then I'll just introduce you when it's time.
I will. That is a good idea. I'll cue it up here.
Good morning, everybody. If you're coming in a little bit late this morning, we're with Teri Hendrick with the Katy Prairie Conservancy. And he's got some various projects this morning that he's been presenting on, and this we just finished up with the second one, and now we're going to be queuing up for his third one here. Just a minute, literally. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. Also, if you would, if you haven't already kind of said hello, do type in the chapter that you belong to and kind of say hi to us, if you will. Let us know that you're there. I do have one more quick question regarding your first presentation on the seeds. Can the volunteer choose the type of seeds to grow out of those 1 or 2 packets that you send? And
Absolutely. You absolutely can.
awesome. Have some people coming in. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce you for our next talk that begins at 9:30. We have Teri Hendrick with Katy Prairie Conservancy, and his next project will discuss volunteering at Katy Prairie Conservancy's native seed nursery. So with that, you're welcome to get started.
All right, thank you so much, Judith. Good morning, everybody. Right, so this is a volunteer opportunity to volunteer at our native seed nursery. So this is a distance service project, but it is place-based, so you have the opportunity to stay socially distanced for sure. Just a little bit about the project. Beginning actually this Friday, September 3rd, KPC is inviting vaccinated Texas Master Naturalist volunteers to volunteer at our Coastal Prairie Native Seed Nursery. And that's located at our Indian Grass Preserve in Waller, Texas. Again, if you weren't here for the one of my previous presentations, that is about an hour west of Houston. So in this opportunity, volunteers will help plant and grow native plants that are used in restoration projects on our preserves and also just throughout the region. And volunteers may also just help combat some invasive species, plant native plants, and then participate in restoring prairie habitats. Another big part of this is as we get closer to our Putting Down Roots event and our Great Grow Out volunteers return some of the plants that they have grown in their own homes. When you're volunteering at the native seed nursery, sometimes you're receiving those plants and just tending to them. So that's another opportunity sort of built in to this one. Right, so these are Tuesdays to Fridays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We welcome anybody that you don't have to have any sort of specific experience. Physical requirements, there will be some bending, kneeling, or sitting on the ground, and maybe some light lifting. What to wear, definitely want to wear some closed-toed shoes, tall socks, and long pants. When it gets hot in the summer, we definitely have to worry about mosquitoes and ticks out on the preserve. So it's just important to remember that. You want to wear a hat, some sunscreen as well. And then just what to bring, reusable water bottles, some gardening gloves. We have pairs that you can borrow, and all of the tools are going to be provided. So what to expect. On the left side, you can see this is our field office or field facility out in Waller, where we have our field office and our native seed nursery and our Ann Hamilton Trail and several different things. In the top corner, you can see the nursery itself. And so this is just to kind of give you a feel about where it is and what kind of environment you'll be in. Project logistics. So we're really looking for 5 to 10 vaccinated Texas Master Naturalist volunteers to the nursery. And we want to keep this group small just as we are being mindful of COVID and the Delta variant, right? We want to make sure that we are able to still be socially distanced when necessary. So we can't have, we just can't support too many volunteers. Like I said, these are Tuesdays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's come and go, right? So if you only have 2 hours and maybe on one of the mornings for the week, that's totally okay. This could be up to an 8-hour time commitment per week, but we are not requiring that by any means. It's really whatever you have time for. And again, this is at KPC's Indian Grass Preserve in Waller, Texas. And there's the address. I'll just pause for a minute if you'd like to write that address down. That's 31975 Bear Road in Waller, Texas, and that's zip code 77484. So as far as experience and equipment, all of our tools and materials that you'll be needing are going to be provided by KPC. So you don't need to worry about packing or bringing anything from wherever you're coming in from. Previous garden experience might be helpful, but it's not required. And we always welcome new volunteers, right, to help out. So if you maybe don't have a green thumb or not sure if you do, that's perfectly fine. And we would love to have you out to the native seed nursery. And the benefits for you, right? So by working out at the nursery, a volunteer can gain a unique perspective of land conservation, we think, by fostering these seedlings to use on our preserves. These projects are made possible through countless hours of volunteer time that are donated at the nursery. We have sort of a permanent group or a frequent group of volunteers that are out there every single week, and they play a really pivotal role in our ability to do our work, and so we are very appreciative of that. With the help of you as Texas Master Naturalists, our nursery is able to support, or will be able to support, more seedlings that will eventually be planted on our preserve and again throughout the region. And so, we really see it that your support is going to ensure that new growth can continue to flourish on the Katy Prairie. So that is the presentation. Again, we'll just open up for questions.
Okay, thank you, Teri.
Mhm.
If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And let's see, I think I do have a few. Do we need prior confirmation for volunteering since you're limiting volunteers to 5 to 10 people?
Sure. So I would just ask that if you are interested, you just make a note on the SurveyMonkey, and just so that I can sort of manage the volunteer load. I don't want to, obviously send out 25 people and sort of overwhelm our staff there at the office.
Okay. And is this only September 3rd or ongoing through the year on Tuesdays and Fridays?
Right. Yeah. Let me clarify. So this is starting September 3rd. This is going to be our first volunteer opportunity back since COVID has taken hold. And so moving forward, each Tuesday and Friday throughout the year, we're going to hold this event from, again, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay. And will masks be required?
Masks will be required even for our vaccinated volunteers. Just as the Delta variant sort of kind of reemerges, we just want to be really, really careful at KPC, and we don't want to put anybody in any kind of danger.
So they're required even if you're fully vaccinated then still?
Fully vaccinated.
Okay. And I don't see any other questions, but we can wait. If you are coming in now or have come in a little bit late this morning, then please make sure you post your questions in the chat since you will not be able to unmute yourself this morning. And we are with Teri Hendrick with the Katy Conservancy, and that is about an hour west of Houston in Waller, Texas.
Thank you everyone for your questions. They're very, very helpful.
Let's see, how much advance notice of volunteering is needed, such as a week before or the day before? Sometimes my work schedule can be unpredictable.
Sure, I definitely understand that, Elizabeth. And so we are absolutely willing to work with you if your work schedule is sort of unpredictable. Maybe just give as advance of a notice as possible, and you can email me directly. I'm t.hendrick@katyprairie.org, and I can sort of coordinate that with you.
Okay. Mary is interested in volunteering for the Great Grow Out. However, I'm in the Heartwood chapter, which is unfortunately not listed as one of the chapters.
Okay.
Are the chapter designations flexible? And Mary Pearl has posted, I believe, earlier, you would need to get project approval from your chapter along with confirmation from the project coordinator, I think, is someone else had a similar question. Since most of the chapters involved with your particular projects will include the Gulf Coast, the Coastal Prairie, the Gideon, I'm not saying that correct, Linscomb, and then the Lower Trinity Basin and the Cradle of Texas chapter. So there are 5 chapters at this point that are allowed to work on projects there at the Katy Prairie Conservancy.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification, Judith.
And let's see, we can go ahead and we'll hang out for another 2 minutes, but we have a break scheduled from 9:40 to 9:50. So if you don't have a question, feel free to go ahead and stand up, get a cup of coffee, do whatever it is you'd like to do this morning, and then just make sure you're back by 9:50 because Teri does have one more project that he'd like to present on, and it will start that at 9:50. But we'll just hang out here for another 2 minutes and see if there are any other questions that are coming in. So I noticed in the picture that it looks like the greenhouse is open. Is that correct?
It's open air.
Okay. Okay. So is it, what are the temperatures like when you're there in the mornings?
In the mornings, I would say that we're probably about low 80s.
Okay.
By the time that we get, further into the afternoon, it definitely heats up. And I will tell you, it is located on a sort of prairie and wetlands complex. And so there is some moisture, and so humidity is a little bit more of a concern sometimes, even more so than the heat. So just something to keep in mind. Okay,
well, Elizabeth's interested in what kinds of native plants is KPC planting out there?
I unfortunately am not a subject matter expert on the plants that are being grown in the nursery. We do have little blue stem, big blue stem, I know there's Partridge Pea. So we have just some of the different ones that we use for our restoration projects. But if you want, I think that was Elizabeth that asked. Yeah, not urgent. But yeah, I can definitely get back to you, Elizabeth, or if you just want to shoot me an email, and I can get with somebody at the nursery specifically to tell us, because that's a good question.
And keep in mind too, volunteers, if you're still listening, that Teri's email is in the catalog, and also there is a good description of all of the different projects too in the catalog portion that was emailed out to everyone. So if you signed up for this, there is a link to that catalog, as well as the agenda from today, and the catalog follows the agenda. So you'll just have to kind of scroll down to the appropriate day and time that the project was presented, and then it will have all the information from the email to more details about the project that was presented upon from each presenter. So keep that in mind. All right, so at this point we are in break. So Teri, feel free to take a break yourself, and then we'll see you back at 9:50.
All right, sounds good. Okay.
Okay, Teri, if you want to go ahead and
Mhm.
put up your next presentation. I'll introduce you here in just a second.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We have been talking with Teri Hendrick this morning with Katy Prairie Conservancy out in Waller, Texas. And he has already given us a couple of presentations this morning on various projects that he is offering to the various chapters. And we are going to be talking about Katy Prairie Conservancy's social media volunteer project next. And his area does, originally we had stated that his area covered 5 chapters, but we've found that it may actually add an additional few chapters, which we'll discuss after he is done presenting on his social media volunteer project. So stay tuned with us if you can, just to get that update, if you can possibly be included with your chapter. All right, Teri, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you to those of you that have been here the entire time with me. I appreciate it. So this is a social media opportunity for this volunteer position. So this is 100% virtual. You can do this from anywhere across the state. And so what we're looking for is a virtual volunteer to compile research and some photographs for a weekly social media post that we call Wildlife Wednesday. So this is a reoccurring post, and it highlights iconic prairie flora and fauna with engaging, witty, sometimes funny captions. And it's really become a pretty popular part of our social media. So volunteers are going to be asked to write captions under 280 characters that highlight little known facts, maybe use trivia. We love a funny one-liner or engaging questions that get some of our community members engaged online. We can provide the photos if you cannot find them. Sometimes they can be a little tricky to track down and get the right credits. So that's something that we can definitely support you in. And it's really a great opportunity to help KPC engage its online community with some educational social media content, and you might even learn a little bit yourself. So let's get into the expectations and outcomes. So here is an example of sort of what the post looks like. And we're looking for 52, so that's to use throughout the entire year. The volunteer, excuse me, the volunteer can conduct their research and prepare the social media content however you prefer. But we just ask that 4 complete posts be submitted via email in a Microsoft Word document on a monthly basis. That's just so that we have a little bit of preparation time and we can sort of plan out, right, a month of social media content ahead of time. And then that kind of separates the load and helps you pace yourself. So skip here. Logistics, we're looking for 1 volunteer. But as I think we mentioned in a previous presentation, I think we could definitely be open to splitting it up just because it is 52. It's kind of a large amount. And so maybe if we did have a handful of volunteers working on this, if we do have that interest, you know, we can definitely look at that. The time commitment, it could possibly take 1 to 2 hours per post. And that's just to research the species, find a high quality photo, and write a caption that is engaging, maybe funny, right? And that can really get, you know, a conversation going online. And that's something that can be worked around, your existing schedule. It's pretty flexible. Really the only, hard commitment that we have is that we receive the 4 at one time. And so, it's pretty flexible in that way. Again, we're just looking for 52, so that can be completed, and that's a year's worth. We request a month at a time, but you can always work ahead to complete them in larger batches or all at once, although 51 all at once might be a bit much. So really, however it works best for you. Project experience and equipment. A reliable computer is going to be necessary just as you research and write, the different captions and things. And then, knowledge of prairie flora and fauna and experience with computer research would be helpful, but absolutely not essential. And there's no sort of formal training necessary at all. If you've had experience working on social media and writing captions, that could be useful, but it's something that is pretty user friendly. And so I think it's also a great opportunity for somebody that hasn't had as much experience. And so the benefits to you, right? In order for us as KPC to successfully preserve coastal prairie lands and improve our regional importance, this social media post is going to be really, really important. With the small full-time staff that we have at KPC, volunteers like you, Texas Master Naturalists, are critical to the continuation of our conservation programs, both in person and online, right? And as we sort of pivot and try to include a broader, more regional focus at KPC, engaging online content is really, really important. And so this is just another great way to do that. With your help, I think that these posts are going to reach those newer, diverse audiences with the importance of land conservation, and it presents it to them in an approachable way. I think that a volunteer in this role can probably expect to improve their research skills, right, as they're compiling information for the posts, and they might also gain some pretty valuable experience. And this is really interesting in strategic communication techniques, right? As they learn maybe what our audience responds with, more or less, what sort of lines work, what words get a lot of engagement, and those kind of things. And that can be really, really valuable experience as well. So I think that those are great things to keep in mind if you are interested in this project. And I'll open it up to questions now. And just again, one last time, here's my email. And I think as Judith said, that's also available online.
Yes, for a few of you that may have come in a bit late this morning, we just wanted to make sure everybody knows that the information that Teri presented is in that catalog that was sent out. It has his contact information and does describe pretty much a lot of what he highlighted today. So you can refer back to that as well. And of course, these are all being recorded. So these videos, of course, will be available for viewing again. If you feel like you missed something, then by all means, feel free to go back and watch these again. Let's see. And Mary Pearl just posted where you can find all of the information I was just talking about. Thank you, Mary Pearl.
Excellent.
And if you have any questions, please post them in the chat.
And I see that these are the chapters that we're going to open it up to in the chat.
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about doing during this next little break time, I know we're a little early, but while we have people still on, is over the break we reviewed with Teri the location for the projects. The majority of the projects are in or like go over into Waller County, which Waller County opens up. There's another ecoregion within Waller County, or actually 3 ecoregions within Waller County that could open many of Teri's projects up to more chapters. So by my map, I see Blackland Prairie, Gulf Coast prairies and marshes, Piney Woods. And so it's potentially we could so after today we'll look at the project descriptions and add information in there as to the ecoregions and additional chapters that could assist on some of these projects. So we'll update that information there. And for those of you who have been asking about whether your chapters could work on these projects, be looking for information, the updated information in the program. So that's where we'll update that. The chapter list that's where we're grabbing all of that information and pulling the information that we're putting in the chat today. So we'll update those and keep y'all posted. In the meantime, are there, just a reminder that we had to strike due to some difficulties, staffing changes and updates, project updates. We had to strike, Teri had to strike the last project that was to be presented today. That may come back at a different time or another time when conditions are better. But are there any additional questions that, while we have Teri, on any of the projects that he presented today? And sorry, Judith, I'll turn it over to you. For
No worries at all. Elizabeth just said thanks. Obviously, she's grateful that some additional chapters have been added to
super
these potential projects. Yes. So, and just to reiterate, some of these projects that are listed where you have, I think there were 2 that you did highlight where you were looking for really just one individual. These could potentially be opened up to a couple more if there's interest. So don't let the fact that he said just one person hinder you from applying, because there may be the possibility that these projects can be broken out into smaller chunks, if you will, and everybody can get a little piece of the pie.
Exactly.
I must be hungry. About food this morning.
Mid-morning, it's just right about that time. Breakfast is wearing off, right?
Yes. Let's see. I don't see any other questions at this time. It is 10 o'clock, and again, Teri Hendrick with Katy Prairie Conservancy, thank you so much for coming this morning and presenting on these various projects and offering all of these opportunities to our volunteers. And if you can stay on with us, by all means, please do so. And obviously, you're looking at the chat too, so if you want to answer any of these questions, or if you want to flip back and see if we possibly missed something that you'd like to add to. Let's see, there is, Christine, the paper-based pollinator project will be coming up at 10:10. So we will have a presenter on that particular project. So right now we're going to go ahead and take another short break. So if you want some more coffee, by all means, go get it, or whatever else you're drinking or eating. Feel free to get up and stretch up one more time. And we'll be back at 10:10. Good morning, Lori. Good morning, Lori. Thank you for joining us this morning. So we are going to go ahead. I'm going to introduce you real quick. And if you'd like to go ahead, you should be getting presenter right, or excuse me, host rights or presenter rights here in just a moment. So you can share your screen. Looks like it's coming on. So Lori Lomas Gonzalez is with the Trinity River National Wildlife Refuge, and she's going to be talking about paper-based pollinator games. Designers are needed for this particular project. So this sounds like if you are young at heart and you like to play, sounds like this is the perfect project. So with that, I'll let you take it away, Lori.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for sitting through my presentation. I will make this as quick as possible. I am in need of paper-based pollinator games, and particularly designers and people who are really good at looking for photos online. The paper-based games that we are trying to design are based off of pretty regular games, memory, bingo, and one that you may not know called Seekaboo. We need people to go ahead and electronically design these, and I've come up with the specifications. Once people have designed these and found the photos and put them together, we need them to send the electronic files to us, and then we will go ahead and print, laminate the cards, and then use them in our Junior Ranger programming and curriculum. These items can also be used for a Junior Master Naturalist program as well, which is one of the things I was also trying to design. But with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, what I'm working on right now is a Junior Ranger program. And well, what needs to be done as a part of this program? I need high quality images to be found online. And these images have to be images that are not copyrighted and very good high quality, because some of these photos are going to be exploded to a larger size. I also need someone who can create templates. I have not really given a lot of time to trying to design templates. Others have done this using Canva, other programs, but I just haven't had the time to do this. And I also need folks to insert those images into those templates. Now, this is a pretty big project, and I don't expect that it will all be done at once. And if we take it stepwise by stepwise, I am good with that as well. So I don't want people to feel overwhelmed by all of this. I'm exploring 9 different Southeastern native Texas themes. And so I'm looking for 30 images of native wildflowers, 30 images of bees and their native bees and their nests. I'm looking for wasps and their nests as well too. I'm looking for backyard birds, and only 15 species with the male and the female. So that makes 30 images. I'm looking for native flies, 30 species. Flies can be quite spectacular. I'm also looking for butterflies and moths, 30 spectacular natives of those as well. And then their caterpillars, which can be quite spectacular as well. And also beetles. All of these different themes are pollinator themes. And we're really trying to go into this pollinator education. Now, I don't expect that folks will find all of these native species and make a list themselves. As you see on the left, I've got 30 species of flowers already there picked out that we're going to be planting in a garden, a wildflower garden, as a part of this Junior Ranger program. So with this program, I'm trying to introduce students to all of these native wildlife insects that they don't know are here. And we want to do that by repetition, repetition, repetition. We also, even if they don't learn the names of these species, we just want them to get used to seeing that there is more out there than just honeybees. We also, in this program, are educating them about the stressors to our native ecosystems, particularly pollinators, and particularly, especially the monarch butterfly as it makes its way across the United States. You may not have seen this Death by 1,000 Cuts. There are 11 stressors that they discuss, and in our program, we would be discussing all of these as well. And I want the students to get these words in their heads and start understanding those concepts. So as they get older, these are 3rd to 5th grade students, as they get older, they will remember that these are problems, not just words, but what they do. And so in these games, these stressors are also going to be included, not just the pollinators themselves. What I expect to come out of this project, or what I hope, is that, for example, we will get 24 bingo cards per theme. And so with those 30 images that we're looking for, we want to put them on bingo cards. We would like to showcase 23 native species on a card, and every card, of course, would be different. 1 free space in the middle, the monarch butterfly. And then we would also like to add a stressor in there. And that way, this adds a different aspect to bingo. Typically in bingo, you're always wanting to make that line. You want to get everything on that card. But if the student ends up, we call out a stressor, and a student has that as one of their spaces on their card, well, them as an insect, their life cycle would end. And so that's how we are going to explain, these stressors, these cause problems for our bugs, and to get them to understand that these stressors cause the ending of life cycles. And so we're aiming for 24 bingo cards because that is for a whole classroom. And we cover all of these pollinators in our program on a different day. And so we'd like to have these different pollinators, a different theme for each program, and not only for this program, but for other programs as well, because I go into classes a lot, or I go and work with Boy Scouts or other programs. And these are aimed for 3rd to 5th graders, but who doesn't love bingo? And you're about to win, and then you get a stressor and you're doomed. And so that's what we're going for here, repetition and really getting the kids to see these things and get them in their heads in a fun way. We also want to use memory in a similar way. So once we've found the photos, those 30 photos per theme, we use the same photos over and over and over. And this is why they need to be high quality photos. Because in that first bingo game, those blocks, those spaces are only 1.25 inches. But for this game of memory, we want those game pieces, those cards, to be 4 by 4 inches. Same principle, 30 natives plus our 11 stressors. And they get, say, 1 or 2 stressors in their entire bingo game. But if they get that stressor, that's it, they've lost, just like that. And that's just that reminder, ooh, you don't want to get that stressor because, well, game over. And so we want 9 sets of bingo games as well. Just like with, I mean, not bingo, memory games, as well as the bingo games. And 4 by 4, I picked that, and 1 by 1.25 by 1.25, because that gives us a square. And it's very easy to work with a square as compared to, say, a deck of cards that is rectangular. And it's harder to get pictures in that. And just, if we go with a square, we can always use a square as our dimension. And it works out really nicely. The last game we're wanting to do is called Seekaboo. Seekaboo is a game that I found when I worked for my children. And as pre-K and kindergarten, they loved this game. And high schoolers, I've played it with high schoolers, I've played it with all sorts of kids. And they love this game. And it's a get up and move game. And so it comes with 2 different sizes of cards. The original game comes with 8-inch round cards and then a matching smaller 4 by 4 inch card. But in this case, we'd go with 8 by inch large cards and 4 by 4 small cards. And what you do is you hold the smaller cards, the instructor holds the smaller cards in their hands, and the kids set out the larger cards all around in the classroom or outside. And then you pull up the card and you say, I'd like the Io moth. Go find the Io caterpillar. And they have to recall from memory, what is that Io moth? But also on all of those cards at the very bottom will be the name of the species or the stressor. And so to help them also read, and so hopefully over and over repetition through all these games, they will start to learn. And if not even learn the words, just learn the memory pattern of what that creature, that plant looks like. Now, how many volunteers can I handle? The more, the better. But at this point, I'm going to go with 4. And not everyone will be doing the same. It just depends on what you want to do. Some people are really great at finding photos. Someone asked if they can use photos from my Naturalist. Absolutely. What I need are photos that have not been copyrighted. And there are lots and lots of educational websites out there. What's that bug? Name that bug. There's all sorts. Once you start putting in the name of a species and looking for images, you will go into the rabbit hole of imagery. And just making sure that you have a high quality image that is not copyrighted is what we're going for. We really want to show the beauty of these creatures. So there may be someone who just wants to find photos. And well, that's step 1. And that's a lot of photos. That's a lot of hours. Someone who just wants to create templates too. They like to do beautiful designs. They're skilled like that. I am not. I'm a biologist. I don't do creativity in the same way. You know, there might be someone who just wants to do that. There may be someone who doesn't want to find photos. They don't want to create templates, but they're really good at cropping photos and just getting that square photo with that name at the bottom. If that's your jam, let's go with that. And there may be someone who says, you know, I just want to make the bingo cards. Everybody else do all the labor and I just want to organize and put things where they go because that's my jam. Yes. So yes, having a graphic design background is awesome, because I don't. Now, how quickly would I like this to be done? As soon as possible. But this is flexible. I mean, this is volunteer work. And so I expect this to be done on your time and doing what you like to do. If you want to design a whole game, you can do that. If you just want to do one piece, I'm good for that too. And
About 1 minute. Oh, sorry. 1 minute, Lori.
sure. This could be done from your house. I don't feel like I need to have a lot of FaceTime, just weekly check-ins. You can get 40 hours from this easily. And I don't expect for one person to do the majority of the work. Let's share this. Let's do this as teamwork. I don't have a timeline, but you know, Christmas would be an awesome Christmas gift. And if you have a due date that you want to get this done by, we can do that. If not, you know, just the sooner the better. And I've already talked about the expertise that you may need. Cropping, knowing how to use apps for graphic design. And as far as advanced training, I can go ahead and offer 2 hours of advanced training. And in that advanced training, we can also brainstorm on different methods that people have used in the past, or their methods for finding photos that I may not know of. And so, I really want this to be a team effort. And well, what do you get out of it? You'll finally know what those darn specimens are. You know that adult milkweed beetle? I've been seeing that for days on my milkweed. Didn't know what it was. Found it last night just by doing a bug search of Southeast Texas insects. You never know what you can find. You can do this day or night, anytime, with your air conditioner on and with coffee or tea. You can do this entirely from home. And why should you choose this project? Because this is a really cool educational curriculum project that we can all use, young and adults, every chapter. We can share this across the board. Kids need to get up and move, but they also have to do stuff indoors, but also outdoors. You can do these, you can use these for both. And this is for 3rd to 5th graders, but anyone can use it. And well, we are an educational organization. And so this program definitely meets that criteria while also engaging in public outreach in different ways. And what are your bagging rights? This could be a really cool project to use at the state meeting. At your own meetings, you can use these games. And well, I think we've talked about the skills that you could potentially get out of this project as well. If you have any questions, please contact me or I will take those questions now. I hope some folks are really excited about this project, and I think that anybody can gain a lot out of this project.
Thank you so much, Lori. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it, the opportunity for sure. I think you've answered a few of the questions. There was one here that, and again, keep in mind, volunteers, that the 10 chapters that can participate in this project are listed in the chat. And I think it was Elizabeth that asked, it can be a bit challenging to find photos of these native flowers and pollinators online, but I see them in my yard and on hikes. So could she potentially take high quality photos and submit them to the volunteers who are leading this project and count it towards volunteer hours?
Absolutely. Fantastic. Yes, please.
And Elizabeth, I would only just make note, if you're not in one of those 10 chapters, you would need to get that project approved through your own chapter as well. So just keep that in mind. Awesome.
And I would push that you can take this project back and use it for your program as well for teaching.
Let's see, and you could. So Elizabeth, just to finalize, to whoever ends up working on this, I often see excellent photos of native plants on the Landscaping with Texas Native Plants Facebook page. And you could message people there to see if they could possibly allow their photos to be used for this project. So thank you for that, Elizabeth.
Great idea.
All right, well, I don't see any other specific questions, but again, as I noted, all of the information of all of these projects have been recorded. You're welcome to go back and rewatch these videos. If you missed something, of course, all the information is in the catalog as well, with the contact information of all the different presenters. So feel free to contact them directly if you have any additional questions. And with that, I will pass it over to, and thank you again, Lori, for coming this morning. And
Thank you.
And with that, I will pass it back to, I'm not sure if it's Michelle or Mary Pearl that's going to wind us down for the day or the morning. Michelle.
Mary Pearl will close us.
Oh, Mary Pearl. Okay.
We'll do that today. So just wanted to say thank you to all of our Master Naturalists who were able to join us today for our 3rd virtual volunteer fair that we've held over the last 18 months. These events, as Michelle said earlier in the morning, have been a great way for us to be able to connect our Master Naturalists with our conservation partners and organizations that still need volunteers, even in these times of social distancing and virtual service. So again, our virtual volunteer fair for the fall 2021, we've had our 2 days worth of presentations. The presentation recordings will be on the website later today or tomorrow morning, and everything lives on our website. Michelle, if you'll send me the presenter rights, I'll close out just by showing everybody where that website is so that we can make sure that everybody leaves with the knowledge ready to volunteer.
And Mary Pearl, there was a question about how many hours, if they watched the full webinar today, they just wanted clarification on the total amount of time that they could claim. And I am assuming that they do not claim the break time. Is that correct?
It's an hour and a half. Today counts for an hour and a half based
Okay.
off of the number of
Okay.
sessions that we had scheduled.
Very good.
And yesterday was an hour and 45 minutes. So going to our Master Naturalist website, we have all of our information for our virtual volunteer fair on our Naturalist news post for the virtual volunteer fair 3 or this fall event. And so you'll scroll until you find virtual volunteer fair August 31st and September 1st. On this page, we hope we have all of your questions answered. What can I expect from the event? How do I join? How do I sign up to volunteer? And how do I log my hours? So again, we have our agenda here. That full catalog with all of the information from our projects is here, and that opens in a new tab. We have the links for registration, which you used to get here today. We have yesterday's recording is already posted, and so that's here. Today's will be posted directly below this. Some resources for our project hosts, and then that link for signing up to be a volunteer. And then finally, how do I log my hours as a attendee for today's event and for the projects is all found on that VMS quick guide, which also opens up in a new link. And so that's there. That SurveyMonkey link is open now. You can enter as many times into that survey, and we'll coagulate all of the responses, and then we'll close this survey link on September 15th. That's listed there. After September 15th, we will pass the list of all volunteers to those project hosts, who will then email you, filter the volunteers and the resources in order to get you volunteering with them. And then again, if there's any questions that we have missed and not provided resources on this website for your engagement with these virtual volunteer project hosts, our contact information is here at the bottom of the page. So again, from our homepage, going to Naturalist News and our virtual volunteer fair event pages here. All right. Are there any other questions from today?
I didn't see any additional, a lot of thanks
Absolutely.
for us putting this on. And also thank you to all of you who stuck it through, because the numbers have not declined. I've kind of been keeping track of the participant numbers, and everybody seemed like they were either sticking with it, unless there's some changes, of course, going on. You know, it could be that a few people bowed out and a few people joined in. So, but the numbers have remained high. So we appreciate you coming and joining us this morning as well to see these presenters for their important projects.
Absolutely.
So I have, we'll be right at 1.25 hours for today as far as the
Okay.
recording goes. We did pause during breaks, so.
My apologies, I misspoke. All right, well, thank y'all so much. And Michelle, let's wrap this up and get these volunteers out and volunteering.